Welcome to another story made by Oracle One. Every morning, Eleanor found herself standing on the bustling platform of the West End subway station, clutching her worn leather satchel, the edges softened from years of daily use. The fluorescent lights above flickered softly, casting a steady glow over the pale blue tiles. Surrounding her was the familiar hum of the city's heartbeat, the scurry of feet, the distant rumble of arriving trains, snatches of conversations from hurried commuters. Yet amidst this chaos, Eleanor's eyes always sought one particular spot across the platform. There, waiting every day at precisely 7:45 a.m., was a man who had unwittingly become the thread of quiet excitement in her monotonous routine. He was an ordinary man by most accounts, dressed simply in a charcoal overcoat buttoned up against the morning chill, a gray scarf tucked elegantly beneath the collar. His hair, the color of autumn chestnuts, fell casually across his forehead, and his eyes, deep, calm pools of hazel, held a gentle curiosity as he read from a small, battered notebook. Each morning, he would glance up just as Eleanor arrived, and the briefest of smiles would meet her own gratitude-filled gaze. Eleanor's days as a graphic designer were long and tiring, filled with deadlines and the dull glow of computer screens. The subway rides were often the only moments she could steal for herself, a liminal space between the demands of work and the solitude of home. The man across the platform, whom she secretly named Atlas, for the steady, comforting way he seemed to hold the world gently on his shoulders, became a silent companion. Her imagination wove stories. Maybe he was a poet, a traveler, or a philosopher lost in thoughts transcending the urban sprawl. It was little more than a private ritual. She would catch his eye, release a soft smile, and in return, he would offer his quiet reassurance. Sometimes, as trains screeched into the station and commuters surged forward, their shared glances felt like a gentle island in a sea of noise. On particularly dreary days, she counted that smile as her sole joy, a delicate bridge between two distant souls. But one Monday, the platform felt suddenly emptier. Eleanor arrived as usual, her footsteps echoing off the tiled walls, catching sight of familiar figures hustling for their trains. Then, as the 7:45 a.m. train pulled in, her eyes darted instinctively across to where Atlas usually stood. But he was gone. The place where she had become accustomed to his calm presence was vacant, the blue bench empty. Days passed, and the routine remained unchanged. Atlas did not reappear. Her heart ached with a strange mix of disappointment and worry. Was he sick? Had he moved away? Something intangible was missing as she faced the stifling crowd without their usual connection. Her commute grew colder, more mechanical. The little spark that had kept the mornings bearable dimmed, swallowed by the gray rhythm of the city. Weeks turned into a month, and Eleanor had almost resigned herself to the absence. Yet on a rainy Thursday morning, as she boarded the packed train and found a swaying spot near the door, her breath caught. There, standing unnoticed among the crowd, was him, Atlas. He was dressed in the same gray overcoat and scarf, only the scarf was now a deeper shade of blue, the kind that reminded her of stormy skies. Their eyes met suddenly, a flash of recognition that stopped time for a heartbeat. The strange twist of fate, the magnetic pull of all those mornings finally caught up with them here, within the roiling metal future of the train car. Eleanor's lips parted in astonishment. He smiled, the same subtle curve of lips that had warmed so many gray mornings. He stepped closer, brushing a damp strand of hair from his forehead, eyes twinkling under the flickering fluorescent lights. "Hello," he said quietly, his voice as warm as the sun breaking through the rain outside. Eleanor swallowed and replied, "Hi." The sound of her own voice surprised her with its softness. "I was wondering if I'd ever see you again," he added. The train lurched forward, but their moment held steady. His name was James, he explained, a writer who had been navigating unexpected work travels on the other side of the city. I didn't want to intrude, I just had to figure out some things away from this daily chaos, he confessed, shifting his weight nervously. Eleanor smiled, heart swelling with relief and hope. It felt strange not seeing you. You were the only thing that made the platform bearable. James laughed softly, eyes gleaming. I never realized my routine meant so much. Maybe it was your smile that kept me going. The train journey that day became their first conversation, two strangers connecting over the hum of the city's underground. Words flowed effortlessly, stories traded, his about late-night creativity and quiet observatories. Hers about dreams deferred and colors made real on pages and screens. Over the following days, their encounters on the subway blossomed into something deeper. Neither spoke of what they had lost, only of what they now found in each other's company. Commuter to commuter, glance to glance, smile to smile, their cautious friendship grew roots. Eventually, the platform's cold anonymity melted away, replaced by the warm knowledge of waiting for one another, searching in the crowds for familiar eyes. James began to carry a small notebook, filled with poems inspired by their stolen conversations, shy smiles, and the fragile hope born from hardship. Eleanor, once isolated in her routine, felt a lightness returning to her step. The subway car was no longer a transient space of solitude but a moving cradle of shared dreams. Morning and evening, they would talk, laugh softly, and sometimes simply sit side by side, intertwined by newfound comfort. One spring morning, as the cherry blossoms outside painted the city in pale pink, James reached out to Eleanor on the platform. The world seemed to hush around them. Without speaking, he offered his hand. Heart-pounding, she took it, a union of two hesitant souls ready to step beyond the transient magic of chance encounters. With the sun filtering through the station's glass canopy, their smiles met in quiet understanding. The commuter's smile was no longer a fleeting comfort but the beginning of a shared journey through life. For more stories, like and subscribe.